Welcome to Your Healing Era, a podcast for artists, creatives, healers, anyone living outside the traditional mold who's searching beyond the conventional forms of healing. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and rate the podcast. Thanks for being here, and let's dive into today's episode. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm super psyched to have today's guest. Today's on the show is David Bailis, who's a guitarist, music maker, based in NYC. He's a vegan athlete, marathon runner, and a host of a Tourganic podcast. Hi, David. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Noga. Thank you so much for having me. What an honor.
It's my honor and pleasure to have you. We met like years ago through musician friends, and you hosted me on your podcast, but like very many years ago, I feel like.
Yeah, it was a great episode. I learned a lot. And who connected us was Cal from Rebel Bucket.
Mm-hmm.
The great Cal.
The great Cal. Calmia. Sweet. So now we're in a reversed position, even though it doesn't really matter. I feel it's just a conversation.
Totally. And I think we did it back when I was earlier in podcasting. Remote podcasting for me was much more difficult. So they were all in person, and now the technology's made remote so much easier. So now you're all the way in Arizona.
I know. I mean, it would be such a dream to actually have a place, I listen to a lot of podcasts or watch them, and some people have this really beautiful like setting, background, plants, whatever, and they invite somebody to their comfy chair and stuff, and they sit in the room. That could be really fun, but
yeah.
Hey, we do what we can.
Yeah. And, just the access that people can be in their own places, and we can just have these conversations and not have to do the logistical hoops of trying to get together is amazing. The people that you can connect with.
Yeah, absolutely. Like connecting with people everywhere.
Yeah, totally.
So your podcast is called Tourganic, and you had me on it because it had this combo of like people who are on the road or touring musicians who are on some kind of a health journey. And that was the connection. And I feel like my podcast is not exactly that, but it definitely touches on that. It's like a little broader in terms of I have healers come on here and I have musicians and artists come on here. And I love just like where the two worlds meet. And I'm curious to ask you a little bit about your story and how you got into all of this stuff.
Totally.
A thing that I'm always curious about for people is how did you get into it? Was there a catalyst? I'm always curious, like, what was your entry point to to being on a path where you're really taking care of yourself?
Yeah, it's a great question. And for me, it's not so much of there was one aha moment where everything changed. It was kind of this series of smaller aha moments where like one door led to another door, which led to another door. That's kind of been this path of discovery. I certainly didn't know where I was going to end up when I kind of began this journey of trying to explore being healthy and being fit. And it's been an incredible adventure. But it started in, like so many of us musicians, where I was so focused on music that I sort of let everything else go by the wayside in terms of diet. When I was in my late teens, my 20s, diet, fitness, I was just focused on playing and basically partying, to be honest. It was just like playing and partying. That was kind of my MO. Like those are my two total focuses in life, and took up all my time between those two things. And when I was really started to tour a lot in my 20s, and I was still continuing that party lifestyle, I started to realize for me that was not a sustainable path. I think I could tell already just looking at older musicians and being like, wow, it looks like the road has really taken a toll on them. And just that vision of trying to figure out for myself, how am I going to find a way to do this that's sustainable for me. So that was kind of the beginning. I remember I was like at the gym one day. I was at the hotel one day, and like the bass player was going to the gym, and I was like, ooh, the gym. Interesting idea. And he was like, come on, let's go. And I remember going to the gym, going to the gym. And I remember one day I saw this guy this was in the gym when I was back home in New York, and I saw this guy. He was just like working out so hard. He was just covered in sweat, and I was like, man, that guy is really going after it. Like, there's something about seeing him working out that really inspired me. Like, I could be striving for more in terms of my fitness. So I started to work out a lot in the gym, and I felt like with especially touring, if you're going to try to be healthy and working out in terms of fitness, you have to bring your diet up to the level where your fitness is, or everything's just out of whack and out of balance. At least for me personally, like I can't eat like I can't be focusing on like health and in terms of fitness and trying to get stronger and more endurance and be eating like putting like crap fuel in my body. Like those two things didn't make sense. So I started to just try to eat more healthy just in terms of at first I was vegetarian but also just really focusing on the road on essentially preparation was key for me, learning to basically in terms of diet on the road. And as I started to learn like, oh, I can eat healthy if I prepare, if I go to the co-op, if I go to Whole Foods, I can, maybe this is possible. So that was a huge aha moment for me, which was just being like, I think I can do this. I can tour, 150 shows a year and still eat healthy and still feel good. And not just feel completely run down and destroyed by the road, which, so many musicians do get to that point. And so that was certainly, I think, a turning point, even though I hadn't really gotten to any point. I wasn't running marathons. I wasn't totally dialed in with my diet, but there was just like a glimmer of light, like, okay, I think I can do this. And as I start to just learn more and expand more, and especially like read books about health, about diet, it just inspired me more and more to keep taking it to the next level. Clearly, I'm a person who takes things to a pretty high, like a far level. When I focus on things, I'm like a person who really goes for it. I get very deep into things, whether it's music, whether it's my diet, whether it's fitness, running, aspects of my life. Like when I get really into things, I get really, really into them. I'm just like that type of human. And I think a lot of musicians can relate to that. Or just people in general that really focus on things. I'm definitely that type of person. When I get into things, I go deep. So just that path really kept taking me to new steps and new learning. It took me to being a vegan as I started to, at first, just realizing like, I'm just going to cut out meat and dairy just because I was feeling better, right? And from being on the road that it's tough to not just be completely undisciplined when you're eating on the road, touring as a musician. It can be difficult to be disciplined at all because there's sort of like you get to the green room, there's snacks everywhere. There's constantly snacks. You're stopping at a rest stop. You're at a restaurant.
You're not always in control of what you can get or can get, and also
Yeah.
you're living this weird lifestyle where you need like to pump energy in the evening to perform, and you just want to have the snack or the drink or
Yeah.
whatever.
And there's a lot of forced downtime, whether you're in a tour bus or whether you're in a green room waiting, where it's like you can just eat. People just end up like eating, like whatever you're happen to be in front of you, people start snacking. So any way I could start to eliminate things and be more disciplined, I found was really helpful.
First of all, I love that image of like you saw other older touring musicians and how that worn them out. And then you saw this guy at the gym and how serious he was into his fitness and his working out. And that kind of lit light bulbs in your mind of like, ooh, I don't want to turn up like that. Ooh, you can really get into that. I love
Yeah,
that. Like,
the two doors.
that's awesome. So, talking about, all the snacking and the drinking, do you not drink?
I do not drink anymore. Yes. I definitely used to partake big time of drinking. And, when I was younger, I smoked weed and I totally did all that. I stopped smoking weed like 15 years ago. And then, but drinking, I still would dabble. And it basically, again, it's not like similar to what I was saying about I didn't have a big aha moment. It's same with drinking. It's like, I stopped drinking beer many years ago because I'm just like, oh, it's so much like it's a lot to drink. Like a whole beer is a lot, and it just didn't make me feel good. And then the hard alcohol, like I would feel hungover the next morning, or it would affect me. I'm a big morning person, and I'd be like a little groggy after I drank the night before the hard alcohol. So I was still sort of drinking some wine, but I basically just faded it out. And I'd say I now haven't had alcohol in 6 years. But I'm not a person that goes to AA and have a sober and have this sober lifestyle. It's not that for me. It's more just something that I cut out of my life mostly because I just didn't feel like I needed it. And I'm pretty much just trying to put stuff in my body that fuels my engine.
Yeah, that's amazing and very inspirational. I think for a lot of people, it's not that easy to cut a lot of those things out, especially things that are like numbing or things that like help you kind of alter your state of mind or, kind of let go of the day or whatever, the things that people like to do, like smoke a puff or
Mhm.
have a glass of wine or whatever it is that people like to do. I think a lot about addictive personalities that if there's such thing that I probably have that, but from what you were describing before, it does sound like you can get addicted to stuff, like it's just you get addicted to the good stuff. So just you giving up alcohol and giving up like smoking weed and giving up eating junk food and all of that stuff makes me think like, you didn't need any support? You didn't feel like, oh, I need something else to fill up the void or the thing, like the craving or whatever. Hey, I'm gonna pause for just a minute because I really gotta tell you about this. If you're feeling called to go deeper on this work, and if you're a woman who loves making music or exploring sound, writing songs, and expressing yourself creatively, I'm leading a retreat in Mexico this summer. It's an intimate, immersive week of embodied healing and creative expansion. We'll have a professional recording studio on site. We'll be writing, producing, dancing, practicing yoga, meditating, swimming in the ocean, all the things. So really living inside our bodies and inside our art. If this is calling you, all the details are below. We have limited spots and we have early bird pricing, so go check it out. And if Mexico isn't happening for you right now, I also have a free nervous system regulation tool that you can explore at home in your own time. And if you're ready for something more structured, my full nervous system sorcery course is also available. Everything is linked below. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, I think that's true. But part of it is that my void was completely filled up, so I didn't need that anymore. Just my life with the level that I'm trying to take my fitness and my running, my competitive aspect of my running, and my diet, and with my kids, it's my plate is so full. There's no room in my life for a void at this point. I don't have enough time to think about to wander off into a void right now because my days and my timing is pretty structured.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So how'd you get into being from just working out into like actually becoming an athlete and taking it competitive?
Yeah, it's funny. So I'm always pushing myself, and I'm just pushing myself more and more on the road, but in a fairly unstructured way, and just trying to be generally fit. That was sort of my goal. There was no goal other than that. And actually, through my podcast, I had this great drummer named Joe Tamino. Do you know Joe? Joe is so awesome, by the way. Sidebar. He's such an inspiring, incredible guy. He's the drummer of this really cool creative band, Dub Trio, that's been around for a long time. But he plays with a million people, and he's just a really inspiring guy. And he's a vegan athlete. I remember he was telling me on the podcast that he was doing a triathlon. And this was a long time ago. So this was for like 2015 or something. And like, that light bulb went off in my head instantly, and I was like, well, I love to run. I like to swim. I like to bike. I should do that. I think probably a week later, I signed up for my first triathlon. And so I remember when I did my first triathlon, I really didn't know how to train. I didn't focus that much on training. I just did it on my own. I tried to swim a bunch at the local pools, and I was trying to ride my bike. And I'm a okay swimmer in a competitive setting. I'm fairly slow. I'm a pretty strong biker. But what I realized, literally my first race was I started running and I was just passing everybody, and I was running fast. And I ran a bunch on the treadmill and I'd run outside because I love running on tour, but I had never run in like a sort of organized setting like that. And it sort of clicked for me that like, oh, I think I'm a good runner. I'm good at this. And as I subsequently did more races, I started to realize like, oh, I'm one of the stronger runners. Swimming, I'm slow. Biking, there's a million guys who are and women who are stronger than me in biking, but running, I seem to be one of the strongest people out here in the races that I was doing. And I think that's just a natural human thing that when you're good at something and you realize you're kind of good at something, it's like, oh, maybe I want to do this. This is giving whatever serotonin, this is giving me some sort of pleasure in my life. I want to explore this. And like, as I said before, I have that side of me where I really like to go deep into things and learn deeply in all aspects of how to do it. And I realized that running is something that you can go really deep in if you want. You can obviously just be totally not connected to any side of planning or theory and just go outside, put on your shoes and run. And that's equally as beautiful. If you don't want to have to do any races or care about any of that, there's no judgment cast. But for me, I started to really dig into how do I train? I want to run a marathon. How do I train for a marathon? I want to get under 3 hours in a marathon. I had these start to have these goals, and I'm a pretty goal oriented person. So these are some of these goals were lofty goals, and I think just step by step figuring out how to do it was such an intense revelation for me that there's so many aspects. I don't want to bore you too much with the minutia of learning like about training and running, but there's a lot of minutia to it, believe it or not. And I'm not even talking running technique, but just like learning how to fuel your body when you're doing a marathon, learning how to train over a long cycle, like a 3 to 4 month cycle. So when I'm doing these marathons, for instance, I'll do like 16, sometimes 18 week training cycle where for that 18 weeks, let's say, or 16 weeks, I have every day until the race day charted out every single day, exactly what run I'm going to do. And I love that. So I wake up in the morning and I knock that out. Like I know exactly like, okay, today's 10 miles, this pace. Like some days are easy. Some days are not as, not as challenging. Some days are challenging. Some days are track days. So it's really varied, but I have this plan worked out and I knocked that out every single day. And I think as I started to kind of get into that mode with my body and thrive with that routine, the competitive thing just grew and grew till, where it's still very much an ongoing journey. Surprisingly, at my age, I seems to still be improving, which is somewhat shocking, but I'm thankful that my body is able to do this for sure.
That is so cool. I remember reading the book. Have you read Haruki Murakami books
Yeah.
ever? Like,
Yeah.
and then he has this book, What I Talk About When I Talk About Running.
I like that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like, wow, marathon training is like, yeah. I love how deep you're into all of it. And it makes me think about discipline. Like, I know that for myself, I know that when I'm really deep into something, it's easy for me to be disciplined, or at least in my younger life, I was like very disciplined about certain things, or I got really deep into music and people are like, oh, how do you do this? I'm like, you don't think about these things. They don't seem like a burden, right? It's just like, you just want to do it. Is it like that for you? Or did you have to like,
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I want to do it. I know other people think it's like OCD or I'm crazy or something, but for me, yeah, it's the things that I want to do. And I've learned that the discipline for me is freedom because it's this outlet for me to explore my potential, which is for me, like that's what life is about in terms of, exploration of potential is so important for me and trying to make the most out of what we have in our time here, right?
yeah, 100%. Like, I think only if you've had the experience of like being disciplined about something and really putting in the practice every day. And it doesn't have to be running marathons. Like, I personally don't like running. My body doesn't like running. I'm not a runner.
Yeah.
But I love having a regular practice of any kind, whether that's music or yoga or anything else that you get into. When you do it daily, you see the results after a while, and just nothing that compares to it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, like you want to be a songwriter and you're just going to spend like 20 minutes a day like songwriting or anything that, But it's
Yeah,
hard. I feel like today there's just so many distractions, you know? Like
it is.
it's just yeah.
It is. I remember that, especially as a musician practicing, because the time training and practicing for me, music and running, they're really connected. There's so many elements that are connected, and practicing and seeing, putting in the daily work and thinking about results over a long period of time. When you're practicing something on your instrument, I remember at Berkeley, one of my teachers years ago was like, put in the work and give it like 9 months to a year. Like, you have to think about things at those type of cycles to really see the results. Like, to practice something worthwhile, you're not going to learn it in 2 days. Like, be patient. And I think that you know discipline is the same way. If you think about things in a really short term, it can be like, what's the point? But if you have that sort of more long term vision, it can be really freeing. And for instance, another element is my diet. These days, it's beyond just being vegan. Is that I've started in the last 18 months. I've gone on this big journey of balancing my macros. Have you thought about stuff like that? No, you know what
Tell
I'm
me
talking about?
more. Tell me
Okay.
more.
So, yeah, you've got your ingredients. So, macronutrients that you eat every day, which is like our proteins and our fats and our carbs, right? And I started to feel like nutrition was something that I really needed to take to the next level and figure out for my body. I kind of ate on the eat what I feel, which, given the standard American diet, is still pretty limited and healthy, but I was trying to dial it up more. Especially being a vegan, I want to make sure I'm getting what I need. So now all my food, I have this app that I use, and I balance, and I have a certain amount of carbs, and I eat basically 5 meals a day. I eat every 2 to 3 hours, like three bigger meals. Well, basically like breakfast and lunch are bigger, and then two small snacks, and then like a light dinner. And I do this every day, and I eat every 2 to 3 hours, and all my food is portioned out either with like a measuring cup, or I weigh all my food now. And it's like, it sounds to my friends like, you're crazy. Like, what's the fun in that? But for me,
But once you know what you're eating, it like kind of simplifies things, no?
it
Like if you know that
simplifies
that
things.
works.
Exactly. It simplifies things. It's in another way, it seems limiting, but another way it's freeing. It's just like, okay, this is what I'm having done. And I know that that's what my body needs. And it's been super great. And it's been a very awesome journey for me to also learn more about foods. And of course, it's all eating whole foods. You're not eating like processed foods and stuff like that. It's limited as to what you're going to eat. But it's another example of where discipline can seem like a drag, but can actually be really, you can learn a ton and benefit so much from it.
Can I ask you what you eat? Because I'm personally not vegan, but I have a lot of, well, some would call it dietary restrictions. Like I don't consume dairy and eggs and
Yeah, I
processed food and
remember.
lots of stuff. And my diet has changed and evolved over the years, and so have the health challenges. But what a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're vegan, so what do you eat?" Because like people are so
Yeah.
used to it. What's yeah.
I'll give you an example of a day. So in the morning, I have a smoothie that's going to have berries
I'm into
and
that.
fruit. I love fruit, right? So I'm eating a lot of fruits and berries in the morning. And I will have, I supplement with protein powder, which I could see people that aren't vegan casting, shade on that. But for how much I work out, I have to supplement with protein powder.
Like vegan protein.
Vegan, it's really, it's as non-processed as you can get with protein powders. But yeah, so I supplement. So I'll have a smoothie with protein powder in the morning, and sometimes I have some vegan yogurt that has like B12 in it too. I'll put that in the smoothie, and then as I said, berries, sometimes bananas, and then I'll have a snack, which is often a mango, and then a small protein shake. That'll be like my mid-morning snack. My lunch is going to be a salad, basically, a salad where I'm going to have veggies. Now I'm having a little cooked food for the first time in the day. I have a little cooked food. beans. I eat a lot of legumes, beans. Something I didn't mention for earlier is that I'll often have almond butter in the morning and something like that. So chia seeds, flax seeds. So I'll have a lunch that's a salad that is going to have beans or some kind of legumes, tofu, tempeh, seitan, something like that in there too. Then I'll have another small snack, and then my dinner will be somewhat similar to my lunch with probably beans, tofu, and then like steamed veggies, steamed greens, butternut squash, sweet potato, stuff like that. Pretty simple.
That sounds great.
I've stopped doing things like I like my food separate now. I realize I don't like mix it into a big dish and have like this some fancy sauce. Like that's not where I'm at right now. Basically, all my food is steamed or it's simply cooked and it's just separate on the plate. That's the easiest way for me to do it.
I dig it. I dig it. I actually like just to cook very simple, clean stuff myself, and I eat a ton of fruits and veggies as well.
Yeah.
Wait, do you not eat grains like rice, quinoa, stuff like that?
I eat rice for dinner sometimes. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Brown rice pasta sometimes.
Oh, I
Stuff
love brown.
whole wheat pasta. And for the first year I was doing this, I like didn't eat out almost at all. Like never in a restaurant. And I don't eat in restaurants much, but now I'm allowing myself to try to be a little bit more flexible.
Have a taco here and there.
Have a taco. Yeah, be able to like go out with friends and be normal.
I know it's a delicate balance. When you try to be like kind of disciplined, for lack of better words, with your diet, which I have been on and off over the years. So yeah, it's tricky when you try to go out. Do you drink coffee?
No,
Cool. Cool. Me
no,
neither.
no caffeine. No
Me neither.
caffeine. And again, like people say caffeine is good for you. Everyone drinks coffee in the world, it seems like. So I'm not saying it's bad, but for me, it seems to taste disgusting. The caffeine, when I have had it, affects me super strong. I'm like wired. I'm like,
Yeah,
like,
caffeine affects me super strong. I love the
yeah.
taste of coffee, but it messes with me too much.
Yeah. And see so many people that are addicted and they're just going to the coffee shop and just constantly having their espressos. I don't need that in my life. No need.
That's
I have enough
amazing.
energy. I have
That's
enough energy.
amazing. Do you have like sometimes I call it a kryptonite, like a thing that's like, kind of like your poison that you struggle, no, you don't struggle, but like a thing that could hinder you.
Well, um, I like sweets, but no, not like candy or anything like that. But I like chocolate. Like I like cookies. But I remember I was reading a book. I think it was Dr. Greger. I don't. You know Dr. Greger, Michael Greger.
No.
He's written a bunch of amazing books. He one of them is called How Not to Die. You should check it out.
I will.
Dr. Greger is amazing. I think it was Dr. Greger. I don't want to give credit or someone I was reading who basically said he called it taking out the trash. And he was basically like, don't have that stuff in your home.
Yeah.
Like just never have it in your
I don't
home.
have it in my home, but it's everywhere I go.
Yeah. I guess I so rarely eat outside the home.
hmm
Unless I'm touring, which it's more complicated. But these days I'm home a lot. I'm trying to be home a lot more. And then if I'm gone for 2 days, I can still pretty much bring all the food I need, or go to a Whole Foods or go to somewhere where I'm there where I can get what I need, and I'm not like just hungry and looking for something in the moment, and because that's where problems
That's
can happen.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of my motto is he's called it take the trash out. So I try not to have tempting things. But yeah, like I like sweets. I very rarely ever have. I used to have dark chocolate in the house, but then I'm like, it's just too tempting. And yeah, I don't.
I eat dark chocolate for sure.
And I've heard it's good. I'm not even sure there's anything wrong with it, but it's just too tempting for me. And I
I'm
don't.
also I'm also really sensitive to cacao actually, so like chocolate and stuff. But if I put cacao powder in like a smoothie or something, it can mess me up. Or like, it's like a high and then there's a down.
It's so funny you say that. I think I got addicted to those cacao nibs because I loved those things. And what I would do is I would put them on my smoothie, just like on top as a topping. And then I started just like do it all the time. And I was like so into it. Then I'm like, I think I'm fully addicted to these things. And I had to just like, I can't buy them anymore.
I mean, all these things are super powerful, and I
Yeah.
think, I don't know, at least for me, I think my body has said no to so many things, like clearly showed me that it's a no.
Right.
And it made me think that like how we misuse stuff and or abuse really like certain things and foods, like, you know, because people use cacao in like a ceremonial way and people use tobacco in a ceremonial way, but like
Mm.
the
And
amount
caffeine.
and caffeine and yeah, and other plants or whatever, but we just misuse these things, I think, and that's the frustrating part. And they really take a hold.
Yeah. And just the corporate marketplace has commodified these things. So they're just like pushed on everyone like coffee, coffee, everywhere you look, coffee shops. And it's,
And it's so normalized in our culture that it's just like it's normal to like consume caffeine and sugar first thing and like just live on that.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it puts people's bodies and metabolism at a pretty out of whack. If you're starting the day with some basically like milkshake with coffee in it, like I can't imagine what that's doing to your body
Yeah.
and just your sugar and
So
all that.
if there's people out there listening and they're like, you seem like light years away from where they are, you know, it's hard for people to make the shifts. Are there small steps or are there big steps or are there anything that you can recommend to someone wanting to get healthier, wanting to get more fit, but being kind of on the other side of like not
Yeah.
quite there?
Yeah, and I'm careful because I almost feel like with this podcast, I never want to be preachy and I don't want to ever seem like my path is the path and I'm not that type of, I respect other vegans who are or plant-based people who have that really militant, but I try to just lead by example and just hey, hopefully I can be a beacon of light and inspiration for people and not say like my way or the highway and everyone else is evil because I know the world is just much too complex for that and a lot of people have their own situations. All that being said, yeah, I think just starting small. Like I said, like take the trash out, like take the stuff out of your home that you don't think is good for you. Step one. Like if you know you shouldn't be eating cookies at 11 p.m. at night or ice cream, like get that out of your house. Don't buy it. You know, I think innately a lot of people know what they should and shouldn't be doing. It's just hard to do. And once you get into the nuance of like, oh, is vegan better than if you have a plant-based diet, but you eat a little, like that's very nuanced at the end of the day. But when we're talking about just the general population, I think just trying to get anything that you feel is not good for you, just get it out of the house, get those temptations out of there. And then preparation. Preparation is so key. If people feel like they don't have the time, it's not if it's you got to figure out a way to make the time, like whether it's like, oh, I'm going to get a big butternut squash and I'm going to, you know, put it in the oven and cook that and put into big Tupperware. I'm going to make a bunch of sweet potato and then you can have that for the week. You know, that will last you 4 or 5 days. Try to do food prep, meal prep. Think about what you're going to have over the next, as that one thing, that app, one of the real benefits of that app is that you can really, its preparation is key. If I'm going to go out to a studio session for the day or if I'm going out to a gig for the day and I can just like, I have all my Tupperwares and I have everything and I can plan, this is what I'm going to have for this meal. And, if you're trying to do it in the morning before work, it's virtually unattainable for most people. But if you can on Sunday night, maybe make a bunch of things that are going to last you for the week in terms of diet, I feel that that would be a huge step forward. And then, maybe you end up having a couple things that, you go out to lunch with a friend, but at least a bunch of those meals hopefully are taken care of when you're outside the house. I would imagine that's the hardest thing for a lot of people is when they're outside of the house is figuring out how to eat healthy. And then when you're in the home, you have more control and then just getting that stuff out of there that's not going to be beneficial for you. On a fitness tip, and especially running, I would say yes, start easy and small, small steps, especially like with running and fitness. Uh, the one thing you don't want to do is injure yourself when you want to get into running or you want to get into fitness, because then it's totally counteractive, because then you can't do what you want to do anymore because you're stuck at home with an injury. So is really trying to be easy with yourself, be patient with your body, taking it slow. The main thing that people, when they're learning to run, the problem that they do is they don't either run hard enough or they don't run slow enough. All their runs end up being in this moderate area where it's, some people call it the gray zone of running, where you kind of, after you've done that for a short period of time, your body kind of hits the wall and you're not really getting as much benefits from it. And if you can, what I would call polarize the way you think about it, like two poles, right? And have days when you're going to go hard, go to the track or go to a field or a park where you're going to do some shorter high interval sprints. Try doing that a little bit. And then have other days where you go slower than you think you should be running. That basic idea, without getting too much into detail, I think will really benefit people to get if they want to get into running and fitness.
Awesome. Thank you for these great recommendations. I'm just thinking about people listening to this thinking like, oh, that's like so much prep, or like that's so much work. And I think what helps make it worth it is when you're on the other side and you know how amazing you feel in your body. Like you probably don't get sick as much. You just have energy. You're strong. You're like, look at you, you're glowing. Like your skin looks so good. It's just like a lot of people have never even experienced that, which is mind-boggling to me. We're talking about going to the moon and like all these new innovations. And I'm like, do you know what's even possible in your own physical body? So
I know.
Whoever's listening, I hope you're getting fire under your ass or getting inspired to do whatever it is, even if it's not running, just.
Yeah, try to take some time for yourself. Whatever it is, try to take some time for yourself to dedicate to a practice. Like you said, whether it's sitting and meditating, whether it's going for a run, whether it's some food prep for the week, whether it's sitting with your instrument, as a musician, whatever. Getting a blank canvas and making some art. I think if you can consistently put in the work, whatever that is, you're really going to see benefits.
Amen. Any final notes? So I didn't ask you about your music. You have music coming out. Anything you want to announce?
Thank you for asking. I'm so excited. We just finished mixing and mastering my new album, which is going to come out in August. I'm so excited about it. I feel that it's really a big step forward for me. Musically, it's the work that I'm proudest of, to put out thus far of my personal album. So that's going to come out this summer. It's featuring some really amazing musicians. It's a quintet. It's in the jazz instrumental world. It's featuring Caroline Davis on sax, who's alto sax, who's incredible. Caroline's a master. Kenneth Salters on drums, amazing. This keyboard and pianist named Andrew Lynx, who's bananas. This guy is just a creative force. And then Jordan Scannella, who I think you know Jordan.
I know Jordan.
Yeah. So it's just an incredible crew of creative, amazing musicians that I was so blessed to have on the album and bringing my compositions to life. So incredibly excited about that. So yeah, please keep an eye out for that.
Woo! That's exciting. So that's under your name.
Yeah.
Okay. Very exciting. We'll keep an eye out.
Cool.
David, thank you so much for coming on.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If this episode resonated, send it to a friend, share it in your stories, or take a moment to rate the podcast and subscribe. It genuinely helps this little baby podcast grow organically and reach to the people that it needs to reach. I really appreciate every comment and every review. And as always, if you want to go deeper, my course, retreat, and free resources are all linked below. This is your healing era. Take care, and I'll see you next time.